everybody, welcome back to Nintendo Prime. We have a bevy of news for you today, all of it surrounding a Nintendo Direct. And, well, okay, maybe some of this stuff doesn't end up in the Direct, right? Like, maybe there's some game rumors in here. But the reason that we're bringing this stuff up is because, folks, it appears a Nintendo Direct is happening next week. A big one. A big general Nintendo Direct. And we have to talk a little bit about the 40th anniversary Direct as well, because that might actually be part of, or this could be a dual event happening. But the point is that we have some very reliable insiders coming forward, letting us know the details. There's probably going to be more leaks heading up to the Direct happening next week. But my gosh, I've been gone for a week, right? And we'll talk about that here at the end of this video, where I've been, what's been going on, and what content you can expect coming from what I've been doing over the past week. That being said, folks, it's good to be back. And it's good to remind you, we are giving away 5 copies of Kirby Air Riders. To enter, all you have to do is go down to the link in the pinned comment or the description. You do need to be 18 or older. The giveaway is open worldwide, and let's go ahead and dive right in. Because Nate, the freaking hate. Yes, there is a Nintendo Direct in September. When? The second week of September, which again was first put out there by Nash freaking Weedle, and in the latter half on or around September 11th or the 12th. Now, one of those dates we've heard before. The 12th came from Switch Force. That's right. Nash Weedle said it was going to be the second week. Switch Force then said it would be on the 12th. Now we have Nate the Hate coming out, not just saying that, hey, there not only is a Direct this month, it not only will be the second week of September, which is next week, he does list the 12th as a possible date. Now, September 11th is a Thursday, of course, a traditional Direct day. For purposes, obviously, here in the United States, it might feel a little weird to do a Direct that day. However, Nintendo, I do want to note, has released games on September 11th in the past, so they don't seem to care too much, but you know, the 12th is also one day away from Mario's 40th anniversary. Now, speaking of Mario's 40th anniversary, we actually have an update about that, because there was the expectation from Attack the Backlog and Nash Weedle that it would be 2 events. That expectation appears to have shifted. Now, here comes from Nash Weedle. Nintendo Direct. We have practically confirmation of the General Direct we talked about for next week. Yep, Switch Force, and obviously Nate the Hate. The Mario Direct, I mentioned that I was expecting this week, or am expecting this week, might be delayed or even included in the general Nintendo Direct. They confirmed to me 2 Directs in September. So their sources are still saying there's going to be 2 Directs. Maybe that second Direct ends up being Metroid Prime 4, because Nash Weedle has previously said that the release date and Metroid Prime 4 Direct would be in the, announced in the actual general Nintendo Direct. So we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, this week isn't over. It is only Wednesday, and there was no announcement of a Direct today, so I would presume that means there's going to be no Mario Direct this week. Obviously, I could be wrong. Maybe they do it on a Friday, but it's also possible they actually do the Direct next week, Wednesday. They could even double up Directs in the same week. It's not like crazy or unheard of for Nintendo. Or maybe it's just going to be part of the big general Direct, and they decided we're going to run them back to back, or we're going to smash them together. Either way, what we do seem to know at this point is that a Nintendo Direct will be happening next week, Thursday or Friday. And if, Switch Force is to believe, obviously it's going to be on Friday. But we're not done with rumors here, because we need to get into some other stuff that could be getting announced in this Direct. And look, we're going to be doing a podcast episode today. We'll probably do some Direct predictions, along with talking about some stuff that we've been doing over the last week. That being said, I want to make sure that we also dive in depth on next week with a Direct bingo. That's right, we're going to be doing a Direct bingo, but we'll have details on that later. But there's other leaks for games, and these games could be in the Direct. Dust Golem says he has heard Resident Evil Requiem is in development for Switch 2 and PlayStation 4. And for our case, we care about the Switch 2 part. So, I won't beat around the bush. Resident Evil Requiem should be releasing on PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch 2. Seems this was kind of known behind the scenes and in the grapevine. I'm not the first person to say this publicly, actually, but I'm corroborating. He's just one of the more reliable people to corroborate. 5 different people in the last few weeks, and I know another guy with a good reputation as much as less than a week ago, so not just from me, but I have been hearing the same thing. I'm unsure if it'll be at launch, and my guess is it'll be a different version with different tech. Now, this is where I could talk a smidge more about Resident Evil Requiem, because I actually got to play Resident Evil Requiem already. Unfortunately, There was absolutely no photography, no camera, no nothing allowed. In fact, if you took your phone out while playing the demo, they would escort you out the room and you would be banned from being at the Capcom booth. This, of course, was happening at PAX West. So I did get to play a very early portion of the game. It played really well. It was either on PS5 or PC. Couldn't really tell. I, of course, went and immediately turned off motion blur. It was on by default. That being said, it was really good, really creepy. The sequence that you play and the giant beast you deal with, and you're sneaking around and trying not to die while you're puzzle solving and moving forward. I mean, very, very classic Resident Evil here. Obviously, you'll be eventually be able to shoot and do damage to the enemy. In this demo, you couldn't do that, but it was fantastic and it was amazing. And yeah, them saying it's coming to Switch 2, look, you guys are seeing what's happening with the Star Wars Outlaws previews today. Who was right? I'm just, if you know, you know. If you follow on social media, follow on Twitter, you know what I said about Star Wars Outlaws after playing it a handful of days ago. And it turns out as the previews dropped today that, look, it's exactly what I said. Anyways, I'm not trying to bullshit people here. Like, if the game sucked, I would have said it sucked. It actually runs really well on Switch 2. All right, so Resident Evil Requiem, don't know if it'll be in the Direct, but supposedly, rumor-wise, it is coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, one game we already know that's coming to Nintendo Switch 2 is 007 First Light, which is getting a state of play. So a PlayStation event today for 30 minutes. That event hasn't happened at the time of recording, but some things appear to have leaked from that event. And these leaks come from Insider Gaming. So as we go over here, it says 007 First Light Collector's Edition will set you back $300. This is probably being announced today. PlayStation is all set to host that state of play, as I mentioned, featuring 30 minutes of gameplay around Bond's first mission as an M16 recruit. Ahead of the showcase, a reliable source has already provided price details in IO Interactive's upcoming title. So the price information for 007 First Light comes from Bill Kunn, latest post on X, and you can see here, you can see standard edition is going to be $70, including the Switch 2 version. Obviously, there's going to be a collector's edition for $300. Unfortunately, that collector's edition is only for PlayStation 5. So there is that. For those unaware, it's an upcoming single-player action adventure by IO Interactive. These are the people that made the Hitman series. So take that for what you will, guys. Obviously, you know, we'll have much more news on First Light tomorrow after the event happens. In fact, you know, we'll have it for the podcast tonight if we feel like talking about it. But I just wanted to bring that up because another thing that seems to be happening is over at Ubisoft, right? I talked about Star Wars Outlaws very briefly earlier, and that's not all they have coming to Switch 2. In fact, a lot of the games we're about to see here from Insider Gaming's leak will highly likely be on Switch 2. First off, that includes Rayman. Ubisoft reaffirms that it's working on the future of Rayman. So the news around was announced in a video uploaded by the official Rayman and Twitter account marking the celebration of Rayman's 30th anniversary. In the video, it was said that two studios are currently working together on the future of Rayman, but fans should expect news from us too soon. Shouldn't, anyways. In October of 2024, Insider Gaming reported that development began on a Rayman remake under the codename Steambot. While we do not have too much information on the news, it's understood to be tentatively targeting a late 2026 release date, as the project has been going incredibly well, according to those familiar with the game's development. In addition to Steambot, it's also understood that Ubisoft wants to take Rayman franchise further than just a remake too, and has already made preliminary plans to develop Rayman 4. According to sources, the project is planned, but will depend on Steambot's success. If put into production, it is expected to be released by the end of the decade. The last Rayman title to be released outside of the mobile game Rayman Mini was Rayman Legends in 2013. But this is where things get exciting. So, if the timeline is adhered to, a Rayman remake in 2026 could add to an impressive slate of games released by the publisher over the next year or two, as 2025 is a relatively quiet period for the publisher following its new mandate to focus on quality. It means that its entire pipeline of games has essentially been pushed back, but could lead to several top-tier releases in a relatively short period by the publisher. This is where things get exciting about potential Ubisoft games coming to Switch 2. So Project OVR, which is the next mainline Ghost Recon game, and these are supposedly slated for 2026 and 2027. Project Hex, which is the next mainline Assassin's Creed game. Project North, which is a Splinter Cell remake. Project Blackbird, which is a new mainline Far Cry game. Project Maverick, which is a new Far Cry extraction-based shooter, and they seem to think that that one's going to get canceled. Project Rewind is a Prince of Persia remake, which we've known for a while. Project Altera is an Animal Crossing-esque type of game. Project Crest is a World War II extraction-based shooter. And Project BG and E2, Beyond Good and Evil 2. And he says, yes, I know, but it's still happening. Like, they're actively still making Beyond Good and Evil 2, supposedly coming out sometime in the next 2 years, which, God, like, what's the game in like development for? Has it been like a decade, 15 years? I don't know, dude. It's been in development for a long time. Project Obsidian, which was Assassin's Creed Black Flag Remake, and Project Invictus, which is Assassin's Creed multiplayer release dates, are up in the air, but were scheduled to be released by the end of 2025. Other future projects beyond 2027 include The Division 3, the next mainline The Crew game, and multiple other mainline and smaller Assassin's Creed experiences. Ubisoft is also currently developing other small experiences connected to its IPs, including a turn-based Rainbow Six game. That is Ubisoft's upcoming slate. Now, is a bunch of this stuff going to be in the Nintendo Direct next week? Obviously, we don't know. But what we can say is that there's a huge chunk of these games that are likely going to end up on Nintendo Switch 2. And I know every time I see this stuff, I'm kind of like Beyond Good and Evil 2. That's the one I want the most. That's the one that I'm most excited for. It's also the one I'm most nervous for because it's been in development hell. But apparently, it has a timeline, and that timeline is no later than 2027. So we'll see what happens. Again, it's hard to have any faith in a game that's been in development this long. But sometimes games are in development this long and do eventually come out. Shadow of the Colossus and several others have been in development hell and still somehow came out. And some of them ended up pretty good, while others ended up not being so. So I know a lot of faith isn't there for Ubisoft, but I do have to say and remind you guys again, the team that ported Star Wars Outlaws to Switch 2 put a lot of passion into it. I got to actually talk to one of the developers of the actual port of the game, one of the team members that worked on it at PAX West, because that's where I've been for the last week. You guys have been wondering why there's been no videos and only just like one really random live stream for our podcast. It's because I was gone. I've been gone since Thursday of last week. I got back late last night, obviously went to bed. Here I am today. I had to reset all my equipment back up and still not like perfectly good to go, but like it's enough for me to make videos. The point is that I've been very, very busy. I went hands-on with something like 30 plus different games, and that included a private session with Nintendo, a 2.5-hour private session with Nintendo. And it wasn't just me. It was the whole podcast crew was there. So Gamebird Classic, Eric Moore. We obviously had Thunderstash Gaming, and even like, hey, the fiance and wives, our significant others, were there as well. And we all got to go behind the scenes. We had to play FC26 Star Wars Outlaws before they sent out codes. Like today, there's previews dropping. So before they sent out the codes, we got to play Star Wars Outlaws, but we couldn't record any footage of that one, unfortunately. We had to play Silk Song, Kirby Air Riders, actually an extended demo over what was available to play publicly. So that was pretty neat. And we'll have some stuff on that later. Pokemon Legends EA. I'm trying to remember. Borderlands 4 was another one that was in there. Specifically in that 2.5-hour area, and feel like I'm missing one game potentially. Elden Ring, that was the one I was missing. Elden Ring as well. Now I got to play these games multiple times. It was pretty fun. I'll talk about that stuff in a bit. We also got to play other things like Resident Evil Requiem, like I mentioned earlier. I got to play Bubsy, the new Bubsy 4D. Got to play the Yeast stuff that's coming in 2026. It's already in Japan for Switch 2. Got to play a boss battle in that. I got to play Crimson Desert, actually a very extended demo of Crimson Desert that was utterly amazing. We all know that game, according to GameStop, is supposedly coming to Switch 2. And fun fact about that one, towards the end, they interviewed us, and then I asked them a couple questions, including about a Switch 2, and it was kind of like oh, really? Nintendo fans are interested in this game? Like, kind of like said in a way where it's like, oh yeah, okay, like it's coming kind of thing. You had to have been there to understand the body language on how it's like, oh yeah, it's like wink, wink, hint, hint. We can't say it out loud sort of thing. It's what it felt like. Again, it's not officially announced, so I don't want to like guarantee it here, but I'm just pointing out that I played a ton of games, some new indie titles, some of which aren't currently slated for Switch 2, but should be coming over. Yooka Replayly and many others. We have footage on a lot of this stuff as well. So what was the point of going hands-on with all this stuff? Well, one, to give you a little bit of an inside scoop, I did that for Star Wars Outlaws over on X. I gave some inside scoop about some of the stuff we talked about. I'll probably bring some of it up on the podcast tonight, but the other big reason is the podcast itself, right? We want to be able to give like hands-on thoughts on all these upcoming Switch 2 games. We're going to get to do that tonight on the podcast. But the other reason is I'm actually going to be giving you guys some content from PAX West. While Gamebird Classic is producing a vlog, and Thunderstash Gaming is going to do previews and hands-on impressions of everything he played, whether it's for Switch 2 or not. I'm going to be actually doing hands-on previews as well. So my first one was going to be Star Wars Outlaws until they sent me the code yesterday and told me the embargo was today. Well, with the embargo being today, my hands-on impressions don't really matter when everyone else has them out there. So I'm not probably going to do the Star Wars Outlaws one. I'm currently at the moment transferring like over a terabyte of footage to make sure everyone can have access and use it for our videos. But what I do want to note is, personally, I am going to be doing some preview videos. I'm going to be talking about Pokemon Legends EA and what I can show of that. I'm going to be talking about Kirby Air Riders. We're going to be doing Elden Ring. We're going to be doing, let's see, Bubsy. Bubsy's announced for Nintendo Switch 2. We're going to do Bubsy and more. I don't really want to go over the full list because I'm still compiling what ones I feel are worth doing videos on and what ones I don't think are. Like Crimson Desert, is it really worth me doing a preview video now, or do I save that and talk about it if and when it ever gets announced for Switch 2? That might be the right time to talk about that. But yeah, I personally am just really, really excited to dive into this stuff. This is additional content. It doesn't replace news videos or rumor videos like this one. This is just going to be in addition to. So look for me to get probably starting maybe tomorrow. We'll see how the footage transfer goes. It's either going to be tomorrow or the next day. You'll start to see me roll out like an extra video every day. We'll have our news video, and then I'll have a hands-on impression video as well. Thunderstash is probably going to drop all of his stuff really rapid fire at once because that's what he did for the Switch 2 experience, and it really worked out well for his channel. So I suspect he might do that as well, but we'll see. Either way, we do have the Nintendo Byte podcast tonight. Unfortunately, Gamebird's not going to be there. He's got some prior commitments, although he might call in. That said, yeah, we're going to be having a killer show tonight. I can't wait. We're going to be talking a lot about the games we played, taking your questions about the games we played as well, and obviously giving some Nintendo Direct predictions for next week because it feels right. It just feels right. And then next week we do the bingo card. It's going to be exciting stuff. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am Nathaniel Robochance from Nintendo Prime, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.